And if you are friends with the sound guy, like that's the best. That's the, you know, you got to be friends with the sound guy. You can practice forever. And then if the sound guy hates you, you're going to sound bad. So.
Sure. He's going to make or break the night for you.
Exactly. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for doing this. I think Nick jumped on. Awesome. I'm Adam, by the way, and I guess I'll wait for him so I can give my little spiel before we hop in.
I'm Matt. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
What's up, Nick?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. My name's Adam, and this is a podcast about both you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the EP and everything else that's going on with you guys.
Awesome.
Are we recording now? When do we get started?
Yeah, we just jump right in. Is that cool?
That's very cool.
Awesome, sweet. So I always start off with born and raised. The band, the guy you guys started in LA. Is that what I read?
Yeah, the band's from LA. It started out as like a solo project that I was doing, and then it became kind of my main focus. And then in 2018, I met Nick, and he officially joined the band in 2019, and he's been with the band ever since. We've had a bunch of different members, and Nick and I are like kind of the permanent ones, and then we hire on people to fill out the band for when we go on tour. When we record, it's just Nick and me.
Okay. Are you both from LA originally?
No.
Okay.
I'm from Texas. I moved to LA when I was about like 18, and have kind of been out here ever since. I moved to Albuquerque during the pandemic for just kind of no reason. And so I'll be living out there until like next year.
Are you there now?
Yeah.
Are you in Albuquerque?
No,
now?
I'm physically in LA. I was just in San Diego on.
Oh, that's where I'm from.
Really? What part?
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Diego. I grew up in Rancho Penasquitos, which is like just east of Del Mar, and then I lived in up by Escondido and Rancho Bernardo for up until I moved to Nashville, and now I live in Nashville, which was only like a year and a half ago. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, the family, we were all meeting up in La Jolla, so not like super far from where you were.
That was close to where I was actually, but yeah.
My cousin lived in Encinitas for a long time. But anyway, sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, that's awesome. I love chatting San Diego when people bring it up. That's cool.
It's great, man. I love it down there.
Yeah, we just played the Music Box in downtown San Diego. It's an awesome venue.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah. The staff there was like probably the nicest staff I've ever encountered at a music venue too.
Is that right? That's awesome. I love to hear that. That's a cool venue. It literally is like a box, but they have the seating upstairs, and then the room is just so cool. And did you guys see, if you're upstairs, there's like this room that has these really tall green chairs and a bunch of like wine in it, like this really old.
Right before, if you go, it's the top floor, and then if you go down the hallway, it's like right before the green room. There's just like
it's so random. I don't know what they use it for. I don't think it's like you can't access it if you are just going to the show.
Right. It seems just so out of place. But funny enough, the sound guy actually we were just like making small talk during sound check, and he's from my hometown. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia, just outside Washington, DC, and he went to my rival high school. So we were kind of just like bonding over that. So it was definitely a small world that day.
That's crazy. So were you born and raised there in Virginia?
I was born in Augusta, Georgia. My dad was in the military, so we just moved up to Virginia when I was like 6 months old.
Okay.
But funny enough, my dad's from Southern California, so it's kind of like full circle being out here in LA.
Oh, wow. What part was he from San Diego? I know San Diego is a military town, so I didn't know if maybe he was from that part.
So he's from Ventura County.
Okay. Just north of you then.
Yeah, grew up right near like the Ventura Keys.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah. Would you travel back and forth to Ventura to see family or anything like that? Does he still have family?
Yeah, my grandfather, he passed away in 2020, but he was
I'm sorry.
The only person. Oh, thank you. He was the only person that was like on the West Coast. Yeah, I would go like every other weekend to go see him. It's a really easy drive. It's like about an hour.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's cool. Very, very cool. And well, how did you get into music then, Nick?
So my dad's a drummer,
Okay.
really great drummer, awful teacher. So he had a kit in our basement that just kind of sat there. I think he gave me like one lesson, but I kind of just picked it up. And I play drums left-handed. So I always knew there was like something like weird going on. And then I just kind of flipped it like backwards, and then kind of like the rest is history. But that's how I
Really?
kind of, yeah.
Did you so you flipped the hi-hat to the other side?
Yeah, I tried doing it open-handed, but like doing fills was like weird for me. So I was like, okay, I'm sure that this will work if I just do kind of like the exact opposite of it. So yeah, I just flipped everything
Oh my
lefty.
gosh. Oh man, I wish you could be. So just a random side story here. My son is 6 and I got him a electric kit during when COVID hit because he just has a ball of energy and just couldn't, sit still. So I'm like, go bang on, some drums, but it's electric. So the whole neighborhood wouldn't want to kill me. But
Right.
he's a lefty. He writes lefty, throws lefty, hits lefty. And we got him a drum teacher when we moved here to Nashville, but he basically was like, yeah, you're going to want to just teach him how to play right because all kits are going to be set up like that. And I'm wondering if I move it or have him try, I don't know.
You should
I wish
try
he had
it.
a lefty that could teach him.
It'll come a lot naturally, but like I guess the one weird thing that works out in the favor of lefty drummers is like when you're watching drummers play, it looks like all the fills look like they're done like left-handed. And then
yeah, you're like mirroring there. Yeah, because you're mirroring the person then.
Exactly. And then Matt could probably speak to this too, but like when producers are in a studio, they're tracking as if they're looking at the drummer. So when you're listening to music in your car, it sounds like you're listening to like a left-handed drummer panned right to left. So
is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that always helped me in terms of learning songs faster. It's just kind of like I'm watching like almost a mirrored version of the drummer.
Wow. So then I should move him on the left side, it sounds like.
Give it a shot, man.
And with an electric kit, all I have to do is move the thing on the, it's just like unscrew it and put on. I'm doing it. I can see what he does.
That $600 electric kit to go to waste, man. Just
right. Especially if I don't need to like do much of anything other than because he plays it all the time and he gets the beats, but he only knows like 6 beats right now. But he's learning right-handed because the guy told him to learn that way. But sorry, that was a total sidebar conversation, but that's amazing that you're a left-handed drummer.
Yeah. Small world.
Okay,
cool. I think it's been great for the band because like Nick will go up to the sound guy and be like, so like, sorry, you're gonna hate me, but like all of this stuff that we just set up, we're gonna have to like kind of like take it down and like switch this whole thing around. But it ends up just kind of starting a conversation with them. And if you are friends with the sound guy, like that's the best. That's the, you got to be friends with the sound guy. You can practice forever. And then if the sound guy hates you, you're going to sound bad. So.
Sure. He's going to make or break the night for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, real quick back to you, Nick. So you learned drums lefty, you moved the hi-hat to the other side and did you just self-taught from there on out? Like, did you because I mean, finding a lefty teacher, like I didn't even realize that was a thing. I thought they just made every left-handed drummer go try to start on the other side.
My dad bought me a pack of lessons for Christmas one year, but it just ended up being me and the drum teacher. His name's Joe. I actually bumped into him like five years ago after like not seeing him for 15 years. But the lessons always turned into us just like shooting the shit and just like talking. We never really like learned anything. I guess I learned like a couple of rudiments, but I would always tell anybody that's wanting to learn play drums, and I learned this from Aaron Gillespie from Under Oath, is just watch your favorite drummers, just like watch them play and like be obsessed with it and like kind of take bits and pieces of like what you like about them and not try to be that person 100%, but like take bits and pieces from it and just learn from them. So I would just like watch YouTube videos for like 5 hours a day and just
wow,
drummers just playing at shows.
Okay.
And that's how I would learn.
Wow.
But I don't know any musical theory. Usually whenever Matt and I like will write together, I'll just be like, hey Matt, and I'll like hum like a beat or something like that. I'm like, can you just do whatever I just said in Ableton? And he'll be like, yeah, man, give me like 5 minutes and just
That's awesome. That's interesting that you heard that that advice from Under Oath drummer, because they are nothing like what you guys sound like. I mean, it's and even the drums too.
Yeah, I was so funny. I was looking at kind of some of the more recent podcasts that you've done, and like I come from the world, like I know you interviewed Maddie from Memphis Mayfire, and like that's my world. Like I come from like the total like
that's awesome.
Warped Tour type stuff, and like Matt's like the dichotomous opposite of that. I mean, I think where we maybe cross the line is like Taking Back Sunday is the one overlap we have, but I'm more like hardcore pop punk stuff, and then Matt comes from like kind of the synth world, so I kind of just fell into this band, but I love it. So
that's so amazing. That's cool. Yeah, Maddie is it was crazy when the first interview I had with him, we realized like he literally lives like 3 minutes from my house. It was just so crazy. I was like, what wait, you're where? Like it was just bizarre, but
awesome.
So okay, Matt, so where were you born in I'm sorry, I already forgot where you were born and raised. But you moved to you were in Albuquerque, and then you moved to LA at 18.
Yeah, so I was born in Dallas and I grew up in Austin, and I moved to LA to like go to college and try to like make it in music or whatever when I was 18. And that was right when everybody was like moving to Austin to because Austin's like the cool place to move to. So I was getting to LA and everybody's like, oh dude, yeah, you're from Austin, like my friend just bought a house there, like what's the cool place to go? And I'm like, no, like stay here. and and so I'm in LA still sort of, and then moved out to Albuquerque kind of on a whim, like 2 years, only a year and a half ago. I was on a road trip to see my family in Texas, and I decided to go I-40 instead of I-10 because the I-10 way is just like super boring. And,
I drove that out here from San Diego.
Yeah, man. And like Arizona cops like that like spot past El Paso, they're just like see your California plate and they'll just kind of stop you for no reason and be like, all right, so like where's the weed at? You know,
right. Exactly.
And so I was trying to like, this was like pre-vaccine, like just the height of lockdown stuff. So I was like, you know, like I should try and like stop at a place that is like a mom and pop place and try and support whoever. So that required just a little like of like, okay, so where am I going to be at like lunchtime on this day? In Albuquerque, I stopped there and they like forgot to make my order. So I was like kind of like there for 20 minutes with like a free iced tea, just kind of like walking around, and was like, this place is like kind of seems like a hidden gem, and like what if I just moved here? I don't know, that's crazy. Then I told my sister when I saw her in Dallas, and she's like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. And I was like, what? That's not crazy? All right, I'm just gonna do it. And so I did, and it was a great decision. It's like a pretty amazing music scene out there, a bunch of like up and coming musicians and bands and stuff, a bunch of which just all moved to Nashville and are like living at a house somewhere in Nashville. I gotta like come out there and visit everybody. But
that's cool.
Yeah, man, the Albuquerque scene is thriving, and it's like the food is amazing, the people are so cool. Like it's a very like different from LA. Like when I first moved to LA, waiting to like get a burrito like a Chipotle or something, and like just turn to the person next to me and be like, oh, so like how's it going or whatever. Like in Texas this is normal. And they looked at me like, what? Like, are you trying to sell me something? Like, who are you? Like Jehovah's Witness? Like, and I'm just like, okay. And New Mexico is just like everybody just like waves at you and just comments about whatever when you're like shopping for groceries. And I love that, man. I love people. They're you know, like impossible most of the time, but just an openness and kind of friendliness is like so nice. That while Albuquerque's still a city, it's not like that's like, I don't know, pretty common in small towns, I guess, but Albuquerque is like a pretty big city that like feels like a small town the whole way through. And
sure.
Yeah,
it's so funny that you bring that up about LA though, because I was born and raised in San Diego. I lived in San Francisco for a while, and then never knew anything but California. When we moved here to Tennessee, you're driving and people are like waving, and I'm like, what the, you know, it was just like, it took me a while to like get registered. Like they're just being nice and acknowledging you, because in most senses, like if you see somebody walking down the road, they were just like, you know, even if you drove by, like it's like people are going out of their way to welcome you and say hello. It's definitely different.
I had that first moment yesterday of realizing I was becoming an LA person, where I was walking to the grocery store or something, and just some random person walked by me on the street and she like smiled at me, and I was just like, what?
Who's this creep?
And that's just so unlike me, because like again, from, you know, Virginia, like you just small town, small away from a small town, but like same, and it just, I had that weird out of body like kind of moment where I'm like, okay, I need to get out of town for a second or something, because that was just so rude.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Did you play in any bands before, and what took you to LA, Nick?
Honestly, nothing to do with music.
Okay.
It was just a job. I started working for like a private airline in sales. And that was like the main reason that I moved out here. But yeah, I played in like previous bands before, like local stuff. And we did like a couple, like with my band right before the Sometimes Island, we would kind of just do like weekend warrior type things. And I think the biggest thing we did was like a 2-week tour, so to speak. And we went down to South by Southwest and played 4 of those like unofficial showcases that are kind of right on 6th Street. But I guess it's again kind of full circle because Matt's from Austin, and Austin is my favorite city in America, and I'm just absolutely in love with it. So
got a Longhorn tattoo on his ankle.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got that when we were down there for South by Southwest. I had a few too many adult beverages, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. And yeah, so it was really nice to spend a lot of time in Austin on like the last tour that we just did, because it's just, I don't know, I love everything about it. So
that's cool. And Matt, so you moved to LA for music. Prior to that, like, how did you get into music? We didn't hear your story on that.
I also wanted to be a drummer when I was a kid, and my dad did not want a drum kit in the house. And so he got me a practice pad and was like, if you can do a drum roll, we'll, figure out a drum kit and get you drum lessons. And I never could, because I was like 9 and I didn't know that you like got to let the sticks bounce and like do all this. And so I was like getting frustrated. And he was like, I was talking to your mom, like, maybe we'll get you piano lessons. And I was like, fine. And so that ended up being great, because I did piano for about like 7 years, and like was never like amazing at it, but loved playing piano. I'd just come home from school and just like go and like play chords and like just kind of like listen, like hit the sustain pedal and just like listen to them. And then like my brother got a guitar, I think for his birthday, and I was about like probably 15 or something, and my brother's like 13 at the time, and I was like, no way, I think we were maybe a little younger, but I was like, there's no way I'm letting my brother like get good at guitar and me not be good at guitar, better at guitar than he is. And so I just kind of like started playing his guitar all the time. And he went and was like, like, Matthew's always stealing my guitar. Like, I want to play drums now. And at that point, my dad was like, all right, fine. We'll just get your brother, Travis, we'll just get you a drum set. And at that point, I didn't care. And then we had the kind of like a family band situation going through our teenage years, of where we could like jam together. And to this day, my brother lives in Austin, and he's currently in Dallas, him and his wife right now. But he'll come out on tour with us here and there and play like synth and stuff. He's a producer. He's a really good like just multi-instrumentalist, and he and I think like the same thoughts. And just like, it's really easy to, so whenever he wants to come out on the road and be in the like the touring band, we're super stoked to have him. His name is Travis. He's in a bunch of our like press photos. He played with us we played at the Troubadour in November of last year, and it was a 3-piece of my brother, me, and Nick, and it was like one of my favorite shows we've played of all time.
That's so cool. That's cool. Man. That's cool to have a drummer, and that's always the person that's the hardest to find, right? I mean, I'm sure, Nick, you got a pick of the litter of anyone you wanted to play with growing up as far as bands went, and then Matt, have a drummer in the house, like, okay, like let's like to jam at any moment. That's, at least when I was growing up, you could never find somebody that wanted to play drums, or the drummer would leave because they could go play with whoever they want, or a bigger band, or
Yeah, I always joke that I can be replaced at any given time, because like Travis is one of those people that's just like annoyingly good at everything. It could be just the most random thing, and you're just like, Matt and I will be trying to figure it out for like weeks, and then he'll just come up and like, we had this moment on tour where, I don't know, Matt, it was like some sort of cable or something was like not working, and I think
the power supply for the keyboard, yeah,
the power supply was like shot, and then somehow Travis got his hand. This is in Bellingham, Washington, just like not like a major city, like college town. Somehow commandeered like a soldering iron and just soldered the power supply back together and like got it back up and running like right before the gig.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. But I always joke that I'm like replaceable at any time because Travis also like rips on the drums. So during sound check, like the drum, you'll kind of, hit the snare and then the tom or whatever, and they'll ask you to play the full kit. And I've always thought that was like the most awkward thing to do, to like be put on the spot. So I usually just like turn to Travis and be like, hey man, do you want to do this?
Oh, okay. Just to be like, oh, let me just show off here for a second.
Come up with a random beat. I'm like, I don't know what to
do. That's funny. Did you then start a band with your brother and Matt, or was it just the jam thing?
We've never officially been in a band together, and that's my dream, is to like have him join full time. He's got like a wife and a full-time job at this like company that does virtual reality stuff, and so he's cool. Pretty much set. But so we've never actually been in a band together. I'm only like 2.5 years older than him, I think. But for some reason, our grade was like, when I was a senior in like college or high school, he would be a freshman. And so we never had same groups of friends. But yeah, man, one day would love that. Travis, if you're listening, come on, man.
We're always sneaking in the sales.
That's funny. And then, so did you play in a band though, prior, even if it wasn't with your brother? Like, I mean, to want to leave Austin to come to LA at 18 to pursue music.
Yeah, I've been in bands since I was like 14. We were in a band in like 7th grade, and then the next year in 8th grade we like won the talent show playing Smells Like Teen Spirit and Basket Case.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, this is awesome. I want to do this forever.
7th grade, you did that?
I think we started the band in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade we're like playing, middle school parties and stuff, and
that's rad.
Thought we were like just rock stars. Our first mosh pit I had this like out of body kind of moment, like looking at everything and being like, this is heaven. And to this day, it's like the live version, like playing music live is like the point to me. It's that like group feeling that you get, like just and like a song comes on, you just turn to like a stranger next to you and you guys are just like fully connected. It's beautiful, man. It's like heaven. And so when the pandemic hit, I was just like, oh no, like should I just do something else? Like this is bad. And ended up just moving to Albuquerque instead of quitting music, and that kind of like kept things together. And so anyway, to answer your question, I'm rambling a little bit.
No.
Yeah, Nick and I met in a band where it was like a 4-piece, and Nick was playing drums. I was brought on as a guitar player, and the bass player of that band, we all either like left or were fired all around the same time. And I was kind of like, hey guys, do you guys want to just be the band for this project called the Sometimes Island that I've been working on? And everybody was pretty much like, sure, over a various time frame. And then so that band kind of like became my backing band for a time. And that's how Nick and I initially met. The first time I saw Nick, I came to see that band playing at emo night at the Echo in Los Angeles. And I was hammered and don't remember meeting him at all, but I think I did that night. And then we went on to like be in that band together because that lineup got moved out. Anyway,
was it like, I don't, you don't have to drop the name of the band, but was it like to join them? Were they like established, they had a thing going and they just needed members at a certain time, or were they more of a local?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened with the previous members, but I was friends with the singer, and he was like, oh, like, if we're looking for a guitar player, if you want to come on. And at that point, I spent a lot of my of the time in my 20s being a DJ, and that's how I learned how to produce stuff. But that cool. Kind of just, yeah. So that was really fun. And that's kind of like how I got into the synth side of stuff of the music that we make now. Mm-hmm. But DJing is like really fun, but it's really easy. And at least to like just kind of like maintain, you can go deep with it, but I found it kind of like lonely and was missing like actually playing an instrument. So I joined the band just to kind of like have more of like a bandy sort of that brotherhood with
Mhm.
the other guys, and just playing an instrument and being something that I'm not like front and center, the singer, doing all the stuff, writing all the songs. I'm just like learning someone else's songs, sitting off to one side of the stage, playing guitar, and then, going home. And that was fun for a time, but also that wasn't fulfilling. And that led to, I was like, damn, yeah, the Sometimes Island, we need to like bring this lineup into this band now that everybody's free. And that's kind of like how things got really going, because until then I'd done tours as a one-man band, like driving around in a Honda Fit with a bunch of gear and backing tracks and stuff, and just setting up and playing in like the Pacific Northwest or, wherever. And yeah, people would be like, where's your band? And I'm like, I don't know. And 2 years later, I was like, had an answer finally.
That's cool. So when you moved to LA originally, did you have the Sometimes Island project going, or was it just, you were just moved there as a singer songwriter, or like what kind of took you to LA? You must have had some sort of validation or some, way to get there in that sense.
I was really good at taking standardized tests, and I got a scholarship to USC, and they're like had a music industry program at the time. Now they have like a popular music production and performance or something.
Yeah,
like that.
They've got a pretty big music program there now, I think, right? Or
yeah.
Okay. I've talked to a few people that have went through it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions on the ability to like go to college and like learn how to be a popular music performer. I don't that's the thing. And maybe that's bitterness, because like I graduated with a degree in music industry, and that was right when like streaming was starting to like really become the thing. And I had just like been learning like stuff based on like an industry that was like selling CDs, and music videos had $250,000 budgets, and all of that was just immediately out the window. And they're like, well, we taught you all this stuff, but we also taught you stay on your toes, good luck, bye. And I'm just like, okay. So I had a band in college called PS Nevermind, and we were like a kind of like a proggy rock sort of thing. It was like a mishmash of everybody's influences, but I was singing and playing guitar. We had a bass player, a drummer, and another guitar player who was also a singer and also wrote songs. And that was going pretty well, but everybody just graduated, and half the bands took like, like I'm gonna be a doctor, or like, I'm moving to this city to work for this company. And so I was just like, damn. And kind of just started learning how to be really self-sufficient, until being completely one-man band self-sufficient, I was like, this sucks, man. Like, I want to do this with other people. And that's what kind of like got me here to this situation. So kind of the best of both worlds. I'm like writing and producing music, and then Nick is like awesome to work with. He is amazing at playing to a click, and a lot of the songs we start or work with like a backing track, and Nick is just like got it immediately. Some people have trouble with it. Nick is just like second nature to him. So that's fantastic.
That's huge. What was the first, like, did you have any recordings out or anything out as the Sometimes Island before the band formed, or before Nick joined the band?
I think, yeah, we had an EP out at that point, or I guess at that point, Sometimes Island was I had an EP out at that point. And there'd been, I think the first thing I put out on the Sometimes Island was like a SoundCloud track in like 2014 or something like that. And it was just something that I never really took super seriously, or like, viewed in a way I was like, this needs to be like successful or commercial or whatever. This is what I want to do when I'm done doing everything else that I have to do in a day. And so that release was called Bad People, and I was like touring around in support of that. And that was kind of the beginnings. That was what I had to be like, these are the songs. I'm writing more. Like, Nick, what do you think? And eventually, how exactly did you join the band, Nick? What's the story?
Well, I'll be vulnerable here for a second. Matt was being really nice about it, but out of the 3 people that were in that previous band where we all met, I was the only one that got fired. Matt and our other buddy Brian kind of just like ghosted the situation, so they were like probably like a lot better than me. But I think I was just very like like emo for, several months after that had happened. And I think Matt was like the first person I called after I got fired from that band. And he was on tour, just doing that solo thing in his Honda Fit. And I was like, hey, so if you're looking for a drummer, let me know. And he's like, I've kind of been wanting to do that the whole time and have you be my drummer. But then I kind of like became emo for several months, and he like, excuse my 9-to-5 like corporate language, but he kind of like wined and dined me over the course of like several months.
Sure.
Like convinced me to do it. And finally I saw him play at Harvard and Stone in LA. It was just like an awesome show. And I was like, dude, let's do this. I'm in. So,
that band that you guys were just discussing that you got like fired from, was that more like a gig that you had for a while, or it sounded like you had a job in LA, but was that what your main focus was? Like, was that a band that you were able to live off of, or were you still working there? It was just kind of like a hobby-ish type situation.
A little bit of both. I mean, again, when I moved out to LA, like I just kind of just brought my drum kit just because I was like, well, it's LA. I mean, why not? And I kind of just fell into that band like from the first day that I moved there 5.5 years ago at this point. And I was pretty consistently like the mainstay of their, kind of hired guns, if you will. But no, I've always had like a full-time job that I've been working in addition to music. And even with this band is like as busy as our schedule has been this year, my company's been cool enough to let me work remote.
That's rad.
And my boss is like, hey man, just get your job done. I don't really care. I mean, there's been some stressful moments like when we're going through like rural Oregon and there's just absolutely no service, but
right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's been like such a blessing to be able to, work remote and kind of have some of that stability. And also just kind of pursue music at the same time. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, been awesome.
Very cool. What would you say like after the band kind of more solidified, at least with you and Nick and Matt, like what was there like a big moment or like a kind of a turning point that you saw that like really validated the fact that you were kind of on the right path?
Nick, I'm curious what your answer is to this, because I'm endlessly optimistic and I'm just like, could name like 10 things right now. I'm curious what you have to say, Nick.
I think it was probably the Troubadour show for me. I mean, I've played a lot of like the really awesome smaller venues in LA, but we were supposed to play the Troubadour on April 7th of 2020. And then that's right when the pandemic hit. So we're like, crap. And then everything kind of froze for like 18 months. But when we finally got it, that was just like, whoa, this is like a legitimate venue where a lot of my favorite bands, when they were kind of like on the cusp of, whatever that next level was, have played there. Like, I actually just was recently watching, one of my favorite bands was Floor, and they were playing the Troubadour, and that was like right before they blew up. So it's just
cool. It's like a husband and wife duo band. Is that the one I'm thinking of, or no?
No, they're 4 guys from Oregon.
Okay, I'm thinking of a totally different band then. I don't know who the hell I'm
they're
thinking
awesome.
of.
You should check them out.
Okay, I know the name, but I'm just putting the wrong artist to it. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
Nick, you still there? Did he freeze?
He froze up on us.
Oh, whatever. We should just leave this in, every little bit of the silence.
I love it. That's the fun of this. It's like the Zoom, just mishaps.
Dude, honestly, one of the things that I'm like taking as like the most like a sign that this is like real, that we're making, is that we're here talking to you right now, man. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time, and I'm like, damn, I want to start a podcast, but it's a lot of work. I'm sure you can attest to that. I'm like,
it's quite a bit of work. Yeah. Yeah, no, but I came from radio. I was on the radio in San Diego and San Francisco for 17 years. And then when the pandemic hit, artists weren't doing anything. And I already had the podcast going for a couple of years, and it just became bigger than I anticipated it. Like more and more people, and I was getting bigger and bigger guests. And I was like, oh, wow, like this, I don't really need to do the radio. They're bleeding money. Like, car dealerships didn't even have chips, and the local Mossy whatever wasn't selling anything because and there was no money going into radio promotion because there was no one doing anything. And then this kind of just took over. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love doing this.
Yeah, you made the right move, man. I took a class at USC. It was like radio something or other. On the first day, the professor was pretty much like, I'm summarizing, like, So radio's dying, and there's probably not a lot of future in this. And so here's the syllabus, and I just like dropped the class.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I started in radio in 2006, and
Okay.
it was like the peak level of it as it slowly started to decline. Like this is when the morning show contracts were multi-million dollars, and then now it's like, you know, the bigger morning show people, at least in a smaller market, are making next to nothing. You know what I mean? Like I watched it just collapse so fast in the pandemic. Didn't do anything to help it.
It just it just shifted to podcasts now. I mean, like now, you know, Spotify's like signing podcasters for millions and millions of dollars, and so it's just kind of like moved over there. So,
and the music is on it's streaming. No one's discovering music on a radio station, because radio stations are picking up songs that are already booming on TikTok or, you know, other outlets.
TikTok is the radio now. I'm not as like up on like the trend happening the day of, but when I find stuff, like I've been just seeing my family, and I think like my sister Maddie, who has a podcast as well called Easily Entertained. I don't think she's released it yet. But she will show me stuff and keeps me young, and so otherwise I'd be super lame and wouldn't have anything to write about.
I love podcasts though. We like when we're on tour, like there's only so much music you can listen to, which I know sounds weird as musicians, but we just absolutely love either like long format books or podcasts. So we'll listen to literally everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was my whole thing too. When I'd leave, I was telling Matt, when your computer thing kind of glitched out, but like I did the radio forever, 17 years, and when I would leave my air shift, I couldn't listen to music. I had to just like Audible or podcasting wasn't big yet, but it was always like book on to, you know, or talk radio, just because I'm like, I cannot hear these same songs anymore, or even any version of it. All that, it was just too much. Yeah, so I could see how that would, especially in long drives like you guys do and on tour and everything. But yeah, so the Troubadour was your big moment. What would you say a big milestone for you was, Matt?
I think it was, I had been like struggling to get like working as just a one person band. And this is really the experience of all like bands that are just starting out and trying to make it, is that like before you do, you're alone and you're supposed to wear like 8 or 9 different hats, and switching the hats of like, okay, I got to like market this show now I got to like do, you know, make sure that my branding is consistent across all of my social media platforms. And you get lost in this stuff. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I got to like make music too. And if you're just making the music, then like no one's going to hear it. And so for me, it was like Waylon, our manager, joining. We have like a whole team now. We have like a manager, like a booking agent, I guess I can say this because this is coming out September. So we're like on a label now. We got a lawyer, we have an accountant even. It's like just looking around at like everybody who's like invested in this thing being a thing is what really, makes me like, okay, yeah, this is real. This is like, we're a company. I just got like
no, for sure. You have to be a company, right? I mean, if you could write the best song in the world, but no one might ever hear it, or you could put all your time into making the perfect logo or flyer or band name, and then where's the music to back up what you've just wasted all your time on?
1000%, man. But go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, and Matt and I try to still be as hands-on as we can with a lot of the other creative stuff too, like coming up with tour flyers and like funny videos and things like that. But there are a lot of things that were like, if you've ever been in a band, you're just kind of fighting tooth and nail to just like make things happen and just really squeeze whatever pace you can out. But at least where we're at, a lot of things are just like come to us. As weird as that sounds, like people are like, oh, well, we've got this thing coming up and that thing coming up. I think I remember had a moment on tour with Matt where we're like, man, like we're like busy. It's like, that's a cool feeling, there's there's a lot going on. Like I had friends like reaching out to me. I'm like, I don't have time between my full-time job and then the other full-time job, which is this band. I'm like, I don't have time, which is kind of a cool thing to experience.
For sure. So you, so Beverly and Barbara is not, you have another record Yeah, I mean, or you announced that you're signed, right? That's a big, like in September you can kind of talk about that. And do you have a record to follow? Because that one came out this year, right?
It did, yeah. So we have we're planning on releasing a single this year, and we have some like remix stuff coming for some existing songs. And I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to talk about, but that's kind of the plan right now. I'm an album guy. I would love to like make more albums. And so next year I'm hoping to release something like that. But we're just writing constantly. This is a summer of, we don't have to be on the road right now. And so just every day, like just writing, actually spending a ton of time just practicing. It's like I stopped practicing guitar about like 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm just like, just play guitar for an hour every day. On Friday, I'll play it for like 5 hours. And I'm like, wow, like I can feel myself getting better. My neurons like connecting and stuff. I'm like, I think you forget to do the fundamental stuff after we're doing it for so long. But yeah, man, I'm just super grateful. The fact that there are people that I've never met that like want to like listen to our music and come to shows blows my mind, because I spent so long being that guy just making music for no one that I'm like, this is amazing. Why does no one care? And that really, that you go through a lot of like existential moments to get to where you really want to be, and a million people telling you that this is a bad idea. And I had a girlfriend tell me that she wished she'd met me 5 years down the road when I had a real job.
Wow. Oh man, it's the people that stick it out are the ones that, not all the time, but I've done over 1,000 interviews with artists through this podcast, and I'll ask you the same question at the end, but like the advice people mainly give is just don't stop, because you could grind it out for 5-10 years, and it's only going to take one moment that'll change everything for you after you hear a million no's.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I feel like so many people give up right before like the sun rises. I had actually somebody tell me almost what you said, almost verbatim. He was like, I forget his name. He was a news anchor in Austin. And I was in Austin just like at my mom was like at like a work lunch. She was like, Matthew, you should come with me. And it was at my favorite Tex-Mex restaurant. Shout out Matt's El Rancho. And was like sitting next to this news anchor guy. And he was like, oh, so you're a musician? We started talking. He basically was like, yeah, man, like I didn't get my first opportunity to do anything until I was 32. And I just watched everybody else around me give up and start telling me that like it was dumb to like think that I had a future in broadcast journalism, or it would have been happening since I was 23. But if you don't listen to those people, keep doing it, then you're going to be the last one standing. And I was like, okay. And I've done that basically.
Right. No, it's so true though. Right. I mean, I've heard that before too, where people will give up right before their moment is like this close, and then it's like, this has been just too. I put 5 years into this. I'm done. So yeah, and then it could have just been a little push, but so you put out Pilot. That was an album, right? In 2020 or 2021. Were you guys working on that through the pandemic, or did it start before the pandemic, and was it pushed?
It was pushed. It was basically a lot of the songs that we had been working on that was a very like, we tried all these songs out live kind of album, and had them when we were like, we know these are good, we should release them. And I'm sorry, I'm tripping out right now because this is related. It sounds unrelated. There's a single that we released called "You Stole My Dog" in like 2019. That was this story. It was like kind of my editorializing of an event in my life of where I had a dog and then didn't have a dog anymore, and it actually just readopted him like 2 days ago. And his
same dog?
Yeah, he's right here. Whoa. I know podcasts aren't a visual medium, but he's.
Well, no, we use the video.
Oh, okay, cool.
See it.
This is Pilot, and so
that's rad.
Is named after him. Nick actually was like, we should call it Pilot, and I was just like, okay, cool. But yeah, so we had that and released that. There were songs on there that started to get some traction, and then it was really, I think Acapulco was the one that people started really noticing, which is off Beverly and Barbara. But yeah, man, it's all kind of like a blur. It's been just the pandemic really kind of like put me in a time warp. I have a hard time figuring out like, yeah, when did I write that song? I don't know, man.
Sure. Okay. And were you writing a bit when you moved to like getting out of LA and then getting to Albuquerque? Did that change your like the way you're writing, or like different influences, or like could you tell that, oh, these songs I wouldn't have came if I wasn't living outside of Los Angeles?
I feel like what Nick was describing about like humming into a voice note and then me kind of mocking it up, like that, I do that with him. I do that with my own ideas. And to really be creative, I feel like I need like some space and some silence. And LA is like not a lot of that. Like there's always an ambulance going by or like some dogs barking or something going on. And in Albuquerque, at least the part that I'm in is just like, it's just like quiet and like still, and I can just like think and try stuff. And so there's nine songs on the pilot album or EP or whatever you want to call it, and there's 6 on Beverly and Barbara, but each one of those is so much more like focused and honed in. And I don't think my influences changed or anything, but I think that I was for the first time really able to like hear a song in my head, and then at the end of the somebody sends the master back to us and I'm listening to it and I'm like, yeah, that's what it sounded like. And I think that's what I've been trying to do since I was like started making recorded music when I was like 19 or 20 or something. And for the first time I'm like, yeah, that's what I heard, and that's what it is now. So
I told this to Matt the other day, but or the other week, but I wasn't as involved in the writing process for Beverly and Barbara, but I love that album or EP so much better than Pilot. I don't know what it is, because it's like almost like Matt went to Albuquerque and kind of just had this whole other like life kind of experience type stuff. And it was, I think he was writing from that perspective of just like seeing and experiencing new things, that it was almost just like a kind of a different, almost a different person altogether. So I loved it. I'm obsessed with that new EP.
Yeah, would he just send you the songs and be like, and you were like, well, this is done. Like, like how did that?
Matt and I's writing process is a little weird. It's basically like sometimes we'll like have a few adult beverages and write stuff from scratch, but more often than not, what it will be is Matt will come out with like kind of the foundation of the song, and then I'll come out and visit him in Albuquerque, and just kind of like almost as if like somebody from the labels coming into the studio to like
the A&R's like, all right, let's hear it.
And I'll just be like really quiet and listen, and I'll be like, oh, that, you know, like subtle thing that you kind of have in the background, that's your main hook. So sometimes it kind of like rocks his world a little bit, where he's just like so pumped about what he's showing me, and I'm like, just change that and that'll be better. And then yeah, that's pretty much the main kind of gist of us like writing, is he'll just have that kind of first cut, I'll like kind of give him my thoughts on it, and then he'll come back. And my favorite part about it though is like he won't, and I ask him not to show me the songs until the final like variation of it, until like it's ready to be released, because he'll do these little extra nuggets that like I'm just kind of I want to kind of experience it as if I was like a fan.
Sure.
So I always tell him, I'm like, here are my thoughts, go back and do whatever you got to do, and then just don't show it to me until it's released.
I love that. That's cool.
Which is kind of weird, but I love it.
That is cool. As somebody, I remember hearing somebody, I think it was on a podcast, say like, whatever, like write as if you, I forget, was something along the lines of like, write as if any, like whatever you write, you can just dump it into like the trash can on your computer. Like you don't hold like that much emotion to it. Like it's like an interesting thing where I could see that being so hard though. Like you said, like Matt, I'm sure when you come to something and you're like, I love this. And then, you know, Nick's like, well, like this is a bit, you know, and just taking those outside perspectives, you're like, ouch. Like I love that one part. Like, are you able to separate yourself from that?
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. I've actually
Matt's ethos. It's literally Matt's ethos when it comes to writing.
There's a Stephen King quote. He actually took it from William Faulkner. The original quote was, "In writing, you must kill your darlings." And Stephen King's version is, kill your darlings, even when it breaks your egocentric little scribbler's heart, kill your darlings." And so what Nick was talking about hearing like the final version and hearing it as a fan, that is what you got to do. Like we make this stuff, and then I like put it away for like 2 weeks, and then I'll come back and listen to it, and it sounds like someone else's song for the first time. You only get that one little shot and you're walking around like, listen to this. And those are the times where I'm hearing it. And either Nick will tell me something like this, or I'll kind of hear it as I'm like listening back or something and be like, this chorus sucks. Or like this entire second verse doesn't need to be here. Or like this bridge needs to be, we just need to erase it. Of where like I was too close to it before to like hear that, and you hear and be like, oh. And so you get rid of stuff like the Acapulco was just like streaming wise our most successful song. I was listening back to the like the Ableton track of it, and there's this whole gorgeous like backing vocal thing that I had made in the last chorus, and I was just like, you know what, it doesn't need it. It sounds good, but like it just doesn't need it. And so I just, you know, took it out. And I was like, I don't know, a little proud that I was able to do that, because it's not, you know, if the more you can do with less, you know, it's just, that's how you make something really powerful, is like just go in, do, you know, don't edit as you create, but like at the end, throw as much of it into the trash as you possibly can, until the only thing left is like the thing that tells the story. Not standing alone is the song. All this other floof is just like, it might sound great to you, but it's probably just because you're used to hearing it. It's like, you know, like, oh, we can't get rid of this couch. It's my favorite couch. You know, it's like, this couch is disgusting. It's time for a new couch.
I love that. That's cool. Well, so you said you have another song coming out soon, and with the label announcement and everything. Is that something recently written, like a song you wrote in Albuquerque, or is it something you worked on recently together?
It's it'll come out at the end of the year, and I can't talk about it too much because it doesn't exist yet. There's a whole bunch of demos we're working on right now. So this is just like our creation.
I love it.
I thought Matt was about to say that there was a song, and I'd be like, yo, dude, what's up? Like, I didn't know.
He's like, oh yeah, I'll play it for you later, so then you can tell me what to take.
Would have been news to me too.
Well, I love it. Thank you both so much for doing this. This has been so much fun chatting with you guys. I do have one more question. We were just totally talking about it, but maybe concise version of just if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh man,
I'll go. It was my favorite quote from the lead, or the kind of the founding member of that band, Shiny Toy Guns. His name's Gregory.
Yeah, I love that band.
And yeah, he said you have to be obsessed with it. Like, I mean, passion and hard work is obviously one thing, but like if you look back on your time of like going through all the shows you were playing to just the sound guy, or bands playing for other bands, and you're just like, what am I doing here? You have to realize that you've been like obsessed with it the entire time. It's just like an innate thing. So that would be my advice. It's just like, just tell yourself whether you're obsessed with it or not.
I love that. What about you, Matt?
So for writing, it would be the kill your darlings thing. But for the just like the band side of like, I'm sure there's people listening right now that like are like, I want to do this for a living. I want to be on this podcast. And I would just say like, just like, reach out to as many people as possible and build a team. And once you're building a team, like let go, like delegate, like let other people do what you feel like you might be able to do a little better, and they're doing it like slightly different. Just let go and just trust. And if you have the right team, you know, like having the right team is better and more important than having the right direction, even, because like it'll figure itself out. If you have these people around you that like you believe in, you support each other, like it's all going to be okay. And if there's somebody that you're working with that isn't the right person, like, man, just like let go, you know? I don't know who I'm talking to, but you're out there. Just do it.